Welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu Podcast, episode number 61. Today, we are talking all about age. Are you too old for Jiu Jitsu?
I'm so old, bro.
As you're getting really old.
So old.
You're aging right in front of my eyes.
I know.
I'm gonna make like a juxtaposition from episode 1 to episode 61. And, I don't know, put a filter on you.
Yeah, Atlas said to me, he goes the other day, Atlas, my 2-year-old, he goes, oh no. He's looking at my hair and he goes, oh no, it's grey. But I mean, I've had grey hair since I was like 20. I've always had grey hair. So
there you go.
Whatever. Get over it, Atlas.
Natural color.
Move on.
Yeah. This is going to be you.
Yeah, bro.
18 years and this is you.
Yeah, you're too old. It's hear it all the time, you know, people saying, oh, I'm getting old but you know, I guess that's more specifically talking about, are you too old to train jiu-jitsu? Are you too old to start jiu-jitsu? Are you too old to compete? And the answer is yes.
Yep.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on Instagram and yeah, we'll see.
What's our Instagram ads?
It's at Beyond Jiu Jitsu _podcast.
That's it.
Come on, bro.
All right. Till next time.
Yeah.
So, are you too old to train jiu-jitsu? This is one of the questions that, you know, if you spend a little bit of time in the jiu-jitsu space, online, Reddit, subreddits, BJJ subreddit, you'll see that this question is always asked by random people coming into the subreddit like, oh, hey guys, I want to start jiu-jitsu, but I'm X age. Am I too old? And it's a very, very common concern for people, particularly if you're finding jiu-jitsu later in life, you may be wondering that exact thing. Is your body going to hold up? Are your joints going to hold up? Is it something that you should just not even bother trying? Or are there different strategies that you need to put in place to stay safe on the mats pending your age? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so it depends what you want out of the sport. You know, if you come in and you're mid-40s and you say, oh, I want to start jiu-jitsu and become a world champion. Am I too old? Yes, bro, you are. You know, unfortunately, that's just the reality of the sport. And I don't think, you know, that's a shock to anyone. You know, like there's not many sports you can pick up later in life and go on to become a professional at said sport, really. You know, you can't all of a sudden pick up gymnastics in your 40s and go to the Olympics, you know. No, professional gymnasts retire in their 20s, you know. So it depends what you want. And, you know, jiu-jitsu is growing so much that nowadays it's like even if you want to become a black belt world champion, man, if you're not training from a very young age, it's becoming incredibly difficult. Even you fought against this dude you competed a couple of weeks ago, and you fought against a guy. You were telling me, I believe it was off air, that you were telling me that just in the conversation in the bullpen or whatever, you were like, oh yeah, how long you been training? And he had already been training for like
7 years,
7 years or something, because he started when how old was he?
He was 17.
He was 17.
Yeah, he started about 10. And I versed him in the absolute quarterfinals, and he won his bracket, his age bracket. He won the first match of his absolute division, and we came up in the quarters. And you know, he was very G'd up, like young, really enthusiastic, and I was looking at him. And I was like, you poor bastard.
And you were like, oh, hell no.
Yeah. He got a sick footlock attempt on me, but I just ate it. Like I think we were talking about it off air. He was too high up on my ankle, so he wasn't on the ankle. He wasn't attacking the joint. He was attacking like my shin. So I was just like, yeah, look, that hurts, but I'm going to take you back. And so I took his back, you know, because he went belly down, and his whole corner was just screaming like, get him, get the bastard. Yeah. And it's really funny. I think we mentioned it a couple episodes ago when we're talking about competition and listening into the other corners coaching. I could hear the other corners coaching to this guy, and it was like, all right, he's bigger, he's stronger. You need to do this. Like, you need a pull guard. You need to do this. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah,
It's exactly what I want. I want you to pull guard, bro. Because like my whole game plan that day was to stay on top. And that's what I did. Unfortunately for him, my style was something that he couldn't leverage because I know he wanted to play, in under me and get in the legs, but my style's pressure passing. So he wasn't able to do that. And just last point on that match, there was one point of the match where his corner was like screaming at him, like, you got to go now. Cause I was winning on points by like 10 or whatever. I was significantly up after like a guard pass, a back take and whatever else. And we ended up in side control. I had him in side control he was on the bottom and like his corner, and his mum was screaming at him. His coach was screaming at like, you got to go, give it your everything. And he was like really trying to bench press me off and he had no fucking hope. And I was just looking at him like, bro, I'm so sorry, but you were not even moving me. I just held him for like, last 20 seconds or whatever it was. And it was like, yeah, sorry, dude. I'm just bigger, stronger.
That reminds me of this comp I did as a white belt. I remember I was knee on belly with the guy and I had my grip set for the baseball bat choke. And I just remember the guy's coach yelling to him, like the worst advice you could give this dude on the bottom, just going like, he's got nothing. He's got nothing. And I was like, bruh. No, like tell him something useful, bro. Yeah. Anyway,
that's so funny when you hear that sort of advice. I like hearing like, he's tired, he's getting tired. I'm like, bro, I can go all day.
yeah.
Just because you're like bigger or whatever. They're like that was the advice to this kid as well. He's getting tired, like after we broke or whatever. He's getting tired. You've got this, you got to go.
Imagine if you got like buggy choked right at the end or something. That
would suck. I wouldn't tab. I'd go out. Fuck that.
Yeah, you would go out.
I'm not getting tapped by a 17-year-old. Nah, but he's definitely not too old.
Yeah, no. So, the progression of the sport, you have to start pretty young to go on to become, a world champion or whatever. But there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. A couple that stand out that, probably stand out a bit more than others would be Cyborg, right? Cyborg is 41, I believe, 41, 42. I think he turns 40. He turns 42 this year. And that's someone who is still hanging with the best in the adult division. If you're not sure, the adult division is essentially 18 to 30, and then plus 30 is the masters divisions, and they're more or less separated by 5-year age brackets. So Cyborg would be in Masters 3 now, being over 40. Yet you can always register at an age bracket below yours. I mean, and to adult is as low as you go. I mean, you can't go register in the kids division.
Cyborg rocks up to worlds first at like a 10-year-old. We're going to fucking murder you.
So you can always register the down age divisions, right? So you could be 50 and register in the adult division if you wanted. So Cyborg's, early 40s and still very successfully competing against adults, right? And winning lots of competitions at adult. So, he stands out as someone who, really oozes that whole age is just a number thing. Another one would be Cobrinha, who was more or less retired. Well, I believe I don't know if he's officially retired from competition, but he may as well have retired from competition. But 3 years ago, 2019 was it? He did the Grand Slam in jiu-jitsu is when you win in the 1 year, when you win Euros, Pans, and Worlds, right? And Cobrinha did what I believe to today is still the only person to ever done this. He won what did they call it? Like the mega Grand Slam or something like that, where he won Euros, Pans, Worlds, Brazilian Nationals, and ADCC, all in the 1 year, and he was 39 at the time, so again, competing in adult divisions, right? When he's, 9 years older than the oldest person would probably be, but, potentially going up against 21-year-olds who are exploding with testosterone and, so there'll always be exceptions to the rule. I think that will become doing what Cyborg and Cobrinha are able to do will become rarer, right? As the younger talent, like, man, it's just crazy.
You look
look
at crop of guys, like look at Mika Gabao.
Mika Gabao is the perfect example, who, is almost making dudes in their mid 20s look old.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, what, he's 17? Yeah, I believe he's 17.
And I'm not sure his actual age.
I think he's 17 because people are like, oh, you know, this goes back to our IBJJF.
Well, I was going to say, if he's 17,
he's not technically a black belt.
He wouldn't be an IBJJF.
And that's why people are like blowing up, like, oh, he's not even
belt.
18 yet. Why is he a black belt? All this sort of shit. But man, you look at his skill set, he's tallying up black belts in ADCC trials. He's a fucking black belt.
Yeah, so sorry. So yeah, he did get awarded his black belt at 17.
Yeah, he got his black belt at 17 and he just won ADCC trials. So he's going to ADCC and he made them look shit. Like, no offense to his competitors, they would absolutely destroy me. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not, you know, not discrediting their ability. It just highlights his ability even more. The fact that he was able to make these world-class black belts look like there weren't world-class black belts, to put it, you know, bluntly and nicely.
Yeah, you know, when maybe Mika goes on to be the next Cabrinha, Lepre, Rafa Mendes, you know, Gordon Ryan, whatever. Like, maybe he's that 1 in a million, or maybe he's just another one, just another 17-year-old. Like, you know, that's Mika today, but next year or in 2 years' time, that might be Cole Abate, right? And then maybe
superstar.
Cole is going to make, you know, in 5 years' time, Cole and Mika will face off and Cole will make Mika look shit. You know,
who knows?
Anyway, who knows? But obviously, if you're looking at taking it to a professional level, I mean, if you're over 21, you're too old. No, no, not really. But I remember when I started jiu-jitsu and it was still a big sport, but obviously it's growing day by day. So it's bigger today than it was yesterday, right? So obviously when I started, it wasn't as big as it is today. But even when I started in my mid-20s, it was unlike, at the moment, you know, the current black belt world champions will often be super early 20s. Nowadays, back then, you know, the world champions were maybe mid-20s. So I remember when I started, I was like, okay, well, I'm a white belt in my mid-20s. And these guys, not only are they already black belts, but they're already world champion black belts. You know, so I'm definitely behind the 8 ball. But that doesn't mean you're too old to train and definitely not too old to compete. If we address what's probably more the point I want to get to in the episode, which is, are you too old to train jiu-jitsu? And the flat answer is no. Like, you're not too old to train, right? There's just a couple of, you just need to make sure that you got all your ducks in a row and that you have realistic expectations and a good understanding of what activity that you're about to participate in, right? I think anyone who is a bit older and thinking of starting, and I get these messages all the time. I got one just last week, someone wanting to come train, saying that they were 55, I think they said they were, and they've had a herniated disc and blah, 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 but they want to train. Okay, I'm not a doctor in any of that stuff, so of course I'm not going to.
You're not a doctor?
Yeah, I know.
I want to throw out these prescriptions you gave me.
Oh my God. Yeah, so obviously I'm not saying just train no matter what, right? Obviously, you know, if you're on the verge of becoming paraplegic, I mean, maybe don't train.
You're on the verge of death, probably
yeah, don't come in.
So if you're 90 plus, maybe it's not a
doctor said
good
a
time.
sneeze could kill me. Am I right to train? Yeah, you'll be sweet, bro. Just tape it.
Tape that shit up. Yeah, classic.
I almost just coughed my coffee over everything.
Excellent.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I get messages like that quite frequently. And the first thing that, I mean, sometimes things are just common nature for me, but not for other people. And, you know, for me, it kind of goes without saying that, yes, you should be able to train anywhere and it'll be fine. But the reality is that's not how it is, because some gyms are full of meatheads and dickheads. Like, you know, I don't need to explain to you, but for the listeners, you know that our gym, if you had...
It's full of... No,
it's full of pricks.
Yeah.
Right? No. Like, if like I wouldn't even need to explain to you if I partnered you with, or you ended up partnered with some person you've never seen before in a white belt, and you can tell they're
in a like trial gi,
40 or 50 or whatever.
Yep.
I don't need to explain to you, even though you're an active competitor, you're going to not roll with them like it's a comp roll.
Yeah,
you're going to
100%.
look after them and make sure they stay safe and whatever, right? And so 99.9% of the students in our gym would do that. You always have some people that I might want to say, hey, bro, make sure you go careful with so-and-so, right? It's his first class, or, it's his first class in. Sometimes you'll get someone who is a blue belt or a purple belt, but you're like, bro, he hasn't trained in like 10 years. He had back surgery, like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
you will have those people. There's even memes about it that they see the trial white belt and there's like, oh, time to join my highlight reel. And go for like the flying flying triangle. Funny side note, JT hit a flying triangle on me last night and it was so demoralizing.
No, bro.
Yeah. He full jumped and like just scored a triangle and I'm like, you bastard. And we just laughed about it. JT's a black belt.
On that note, I'm taking applications for a co-host on Beyond Jiu Jitsu Podcast.
Go for it. Go for it, bitch.
Yeah, no one messages me. No one even knows I'm here. No. Yeah, that's cool. Was it out of nowhere, or was it kind of like you?
Oh, it's from like we were establishing grips. We were kind of like, we started standing. It was like our second, restart or whatever. We started standing. I had the grips. I wasn't really going to try go for a takedown or anything. I was sort of just feeling it out. And then he went to sit. I thought he was sitting to guard, and he just shot it. So it was it's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And then I tried it on Az later.
Well, Az can't hold you up, bro. Yeah. Well, Az can't.
Yeah, it didn't work, but it was sort of close. And he was like,
Az is lucky if he deadlifts his bong, bro. JT doing it on you, he knows, and you know that you're strong enough to catch him, and that you're not gonna throw your back out or whatever. But Az is a strong guy. He's stronger than he looks, but
he did have low posture. He was like,
and then how did it go?
Oh, it didn't go well. It didn't go well at all, and end up him not passing my guard, but ending up in sort of an over-under position, sort of. And he kind of paused there and he said, "That was a good attempt. Don't stop trying to do that, because in that position it was decent, but obviously it didn't work." And then it resumed. So it was okay. It was good.
Anyway, so
what were we saying?
We're saying that, yeah. So, for me, it's just natural, and it seems second nature to say you'll be fine. Go train and people will look after you, but not all gyms are like that. Right. So definitely if you are wanting to pick up jiu-jitsu later in life and you are worried about injuries and things like that, you need to find a gym that will look after you, because unfortunately not all gyms will, right? Whether I don't mean they necessarily have, bad intentions, but they might just throw you in with the sharks and it's a bit sink or swim, and that might not be what you're after.
But at the same time, I don't think every gym is right for everyone. You know what I mean? If you're starting in your late 50s, early 60s or something, and you're worried about that, probably don't go join B team. You know what I mean? They won't take you anyway because they take purple belts and above. But still, it's you need to consider what gym you're training at. If it's just a local gym and they aren't a competitive sort of gym and they don't have superstars coming out of it, if you're not seeking out one of these top tier gyms, and even if you are, maybe they have really good beginners programs, but just consider do a little bit of research into the gym that you're looking to join and maybe try a couple out. But basically the point I was trying to say is don't expect to go to B team and get treated, well like a beginner, because they're savages and they're trying to build a competitive team around that gym.
Yeah. The other thing to definitely keep in mind, and this is not just for older people, this goes for anyone who's, has a habit of being a little bitch when it comes to jiu-jitsu, is if you do want to pick it up, understand that you are picking up a full contact physical sport, right? And I say that because some people getting into it might think it's kind of like kung fu or karate or whatever. It is a full contact sport, okay? And you can train it very safely, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have sore muscles or some aches and some niggles and things like that, it's really no different to if you had, a pickup group of rugby or football or whatever that you played once a week with mates. You're going to graze your knee, maybe you've got tackled a bit funny and, tweaked your shoulder. It's just part of it. You could do a non-contact sport. You could pick up indoor rock climbing. You're going to have sore hands and fingers. You're going to, graze yourself on the wall or whatever. So that's all part of it. And I say that because some people, not just people who are thinking they're too old to train, even younger people, they're like, no, I got this little cut. I better take a week off. Man, no, or I cut my fingernails too short. I can't train. Off you go, man. You're sweet. Just tape it. That's what I said, right? Yeah. So that's something that you need to understand as well, right? And in my opinion, you're far better off having some niggles from training than having a sore back because you sit on the couch all day.
Yeah, no one likes that person that complains about, you tried to choke across my face, or you pulled that fucking bow and arrow choke on too quickly, or settle down, it's not worlds.
Yeah,
I've had those comments.
I hate that.
I've had those comments fuck man, I'm gonna smash you harder. No, not really, but it just particularly you just don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to roll with that person. There's obviously a difference between ripping on an armbar, which is potentially going to hurt someone, and putting on a choke, getting the choke on and putting it on quickly. There's levels to it is what I'm trying to say. Don't be a dick. And we've covered that. But at the same time, don't be a pussy.
Yeah.
Settle down.
You know what though? It's usually the people who say that are usually, the expression, the higher the water, the higher the boat. Have you heard that expression?
No, what does it mean?
So it essentially means if I'm the boat, regardless of how much water there is, I'll stay afloat. I'll always be above the water. So it's essentially, I don't know if you would say it translates to being always one step ahead, but it's kind of regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the amount of water that is flooding in to whatever, my boat will always be above that because it's floating, because it floats.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of the people who always make those comments are kind of the person who says settle down, it's not worlds. It's almost kind of yeah, but bro, you were the dude who opened the floodgates. You were the dude who opened the release valve on, Hoover Dam and had the water come flooding in like a tsunami. I'm just the boat trying to stay afloat. In other words, well, if you didn't want it ripped on, you've pushed me to the point where it was that's what was necessary for me to win, for me to get the submission. It's no different to the people who refuse to take their face out of the way of the choke and then complain that the choke's across their face. Well, move your face, bro. I didn't put it there.
Yeah, I saw, do you know who jiu-jitsu is?
Yes.
So I saw one of his most recent videos. He was talking about that. Someone submitted a question that it happens at their gym. Is it a dick move? Basically the concept is choking across the face. And it turns
we did a whole episode about that.
We did. And it turns into a bit of a neck crank, because you're on their face for the rear naked choke, right? And everyone, he was like, yeah, it's a dick move. Don't do it. I don't do it at my gym.
That's what jiu-jitsu said.
Yeah. He was against it. He was like, nah, you don't need to be doing that. Rah, rah, rah. All this, he did it in his way. He wasn't a dick about it, but that was his opinion. And everyone in the comments, jumped on Chewy's dick and was like, yeah. Fuck it. But I got on there on my high horse and I said, no. Adam Child said no. And I just commented
my name's Kieren and I'm a blue belt and I say no.
This is what I say. Yeah, but I jumped in the comments on my fucking monstrous high horse and just said respectfully disagree. Move your. I think I literally just said move your face, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I
mean, okay, I haven't seen the video that you're talking about of jiu-jitsu explaining it, but to put it in a nutshell, it's well, yeah, man, if you don't want that, either move your face or just tap and move along.
Yeah, exactly. Why should I stop my submission? How is that defending the submission? It's fucking not. It's not defending the submission. Yeah. I don't understand why, I'm just going to do the secret move to tuck my chin and you're not allowed to choke me.
Yeah. No.
It's fucking dumb, man.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's whatever. But yeah.
So I mean that you definitely have to understand that you're picking up a physical sport, that is contact, and the the human body is a living organism that wears and tears. So of course that's going to be part of it, right? Like so you get on board with that, and that's fine. It's way better for you to use the assets of your body and be a little bit sore and have all these things, because the trade-off is worth it. Right.
What do you think about tailoring your game to old man jiu-jitsu?
Yeah,
you see this, like you hear these comments a lot in the jiu-jitsu space. If you're not aware, like it's basically jiu-jitsu that's more control, more slower pace, like pressure passing, for example, or like maybe deep half to a sweep might be considered old man jiu-jitsu. It's not relying on like hectic knee cuts, explosiveness, jumping, cartwheels.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because the part of your body that tends to give out, if you will, later in life, in terms of the part of your body that will become like the weakest link in your jiu-jitsu, are your joints, right? If you're not aware, cartilage in your joints is very important to have, but it's not something that regenerates, and it's not something you can get back. Like if you have myself, for example, in both my knees, I have massive holes in the cartilage, and there's not yet medicine to repair that. It's not like a ligament that they can do surgery on. It's not like, just take this medication and it will heal itself. Like, cartilage, once it's gone, is gone. So your joints tend to be a very limiting factor in jiu-jitsu as you age. So when I think about old man jiu-jitsu, I think about jiu-jitsu that limits the amount of impact your joints need to take. So let's say, for example, spider guard, very taxing on your fingers, right? And your knuckles. People develop things like arthritis later in life, right? So spider guard's going to be brutal on anyone later in life.
Rubber guard.
Yeah,
knees.
Rubber guard, right?
Ugh.
Like the amount of hip and knee flexibility required for those sorts of positions.
We had a blue belt that trained at our gym that he wanted, like he was pursuing rubber guard, and that style of jiu-jitsu, incredibly flexible. It would fit his physique perfectly.
Are you talking about Ethan?
Yeah, but he had to ditch it because of how much pressure it was putting on his knees.
And this wasn't even an elderly guy.
No, the guy in his 20s.
Ethan was in his 20s, and he was so flexible and had so much like determination and grit. He would essentially like tear his own ligaments by pulling his leg into like rubber guard positions and stuff like that. So yeah, like rubber guard, bearing bolos, like inverting, and like, as you age and you start to, not be as flexible in your neck and your back and things like that.
I'd even say, correct me if I'm wrong, I'd like to hear your opinion on this. Even some people that their game is based around like heavy knee cuts as well.
Knee cuts are super rough on your knees. It's how I blew out my first knee. My first knee surgery was
from a knee cut.
Was from a knee cut, yeah.
Right. Was it in training?
No, it was at Pans.
Right.
Which I then, like, I got the pass and won. Wait, did I win that match or lose? No, I lost that match, sorry, on points, but and then I still went on and fought the absolute division. But
right, I remember that.
But so again, I'm not saying there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. I remember seeing a video a while ago of an 80-year-old lady who was an ex-professional gymnastics gymnast, was still doing like backflips and stuff like that. So there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, right? But as a whole, those styles of jiu-jitsu are going to be way more difficult. And if we're talking about people, if you're picking it up at a later age, because chances are, if you're someone who started jiu-jitsu as a teenager or in your 20s and you're still doing it when you're 40 or whatever, like
you've adapted over those years.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're going to keep training. It's become part of your life, right? Yeah. But we're talking about people, if you're mid-40s and you've never tried it, then embracing a bit of like old man jiu-jitsu. And pressure passing is a simple way to put it, but I more think about those positions that are far less demanding on your joints and flexibility and mobility. Because, you could spend, I don't know, like 5 days a week doing yoga and strength and conditioning and mobility work to be able to do your 1 day a week of jiu-jitsu. But like, no, who's going to do that, right? Like, if you're picking up jiu-jitsu, it's because that's the activity you want to do. Not many people go, oh, like I want to learn, I want to learn how to surf, but to learn how to surf, I'm going to be in the pool swimming laps 5 days a week. So I'm better no, right? People are so no one's going to go, oh, I want to do jiu-jitsu, but I've got to put in 18 months of strength and flexibility and mobility work so I can do jiu-jitsu. No, you can just.
If you want to do that, highly recommend it.
If you want to, you can, right?
But no one's going to. Let's think practically. Like, pull your head out of your ass. No one's doing that.
Yeah, right.
In the same breath, though, we could also say if you're a lot older and you're looking to start jiu-jitsu and your joints are fucked and you have shit mobility and maybe you're overweight and maybe you've never even looked at a barbell, let alone picked one up, it might be a good consideration to keep those things in mind, because if you go into jiu-jitsu and try and go hard with the boys and keep up with the young, hard with the boys, keep up with the youngins, you're gonna hurt yourself. Like if you go in like, oh yeah, sweet, I'll just give it my all and fucking see what happens, you're probably gonna break a hip, mate. So I think that at the same time, considering your mobility would be important if you're anyone starting jiu-jitsu. This is not just to older people, for young people as well, because there's a lot of young people, even guys at our gym in their 20s, that can't sit in a full squat, and you're like, holy shit, how do you even do jiu-jitsu? Yeah, it's like, how do you even do jiu-jitsu? Like I think of one guy in particular is like well known whenever we're doing mobility warm-ups with Joey or whatever, like you look over and literally cannot squat, and you're like, fuck, dude, what is up with that? Yeah. How can your body not even move through its natural range of motion? Like, it's insane. Yeah. So if that is you, regardless of your age, probably address that. Hey, like you don't need to do 5 days a week. You don't need to do 18 months, but like warm up and cool down before and after your actual warm up and cool down. And maybe once a week, do like 20 minutes of mobility. It's not that hard. And check out Kelly Starrett or Bulletproof to do that. But yeah, I just wanted to fucking slip that one in. I'm not going to go an episode without talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is important, but I guess the point I was trying to make is you don't have to do that whole, it's like people who say like, oh, I want to lose weight before I join the gym. Like, oh, I want to be.
Yeah, that one is. I want to be.
I want to be fluent in French before I travel to France. Like, no, man. Like, just go do it. Like, and
yeah.
Again, it goes back to my very first point that if you find a good gym, as in good that they look after you, it shouldn't be an issue, right? And so for me, it's just automatic to say, just turn up and train
because you're basing it on how you run your gym and the environment that you've created.
Exactly,
totally.
But that's not going to be every gym. For competitions, though, like okay, you've decided to train, and you're someone who wants to compete because you're competitive in nature and whatever. Are you too old to compete? No way, man. I said before, there's age brackets, right? So, and I guess for me, it's one of those things that, I've been doing it for so long that it's easy for me to think it's obvious. How don't you know that? But, without explaining it, people aren't going to know, right? Yeah. I mean, I know blue belts or even higher that they go, oh, so I don't have to fight the 18-year-olds? It's like, no, man, like, it's separated. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much from 30 years onward, it's separated in 5-year age brackets. So, if you're 43 and you want to compete, you're going to be fighting people between 40 and 45, so, and it's, and it's split by your age, your weight, and your belt.
Yeah. What more could you want? Like you're literally, you're going up against a mirror match. That's how it's designed. Now, I will say though, that if you are in if you are in a location that jiu-jitsu isn't super huge, like maybe even here in Sydney, and you are looking to go and compete in Masters, you may not have many people in your bracket.
Yeah.
That happened to a client of mine recently. He did have a decent bracket, but like the other 3 competitors didn't show up. So he was stuck, with walkovers, unfortunately. So he rocked up, he did all the prep, we dieted him down, he showed up on the day and no one was there.
And sometimes these smaller local competitions that don't have as strict rules as like an IBJJF competition, they'll combine divisions.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll get moved down from masters down into adult, or you'll get moved from lightweight up to middleweight, right? So sometimes, which you're under no obligation, if the competition is credible, then you should be under no obligation, and you should be able to request a refund if you don't want to go through with that.
Yeah.
But
and you can you can put your preference in, like if you are in that situation, say you're like blue belt 85, masters 2, you can put your preference in. Do I want to go up in weight, or do I want to go down in age? So you can put what you prefer out of those two options. But yeah, I'll take age.
When do you think you'll retire? What age, Kieren?
Well, in 3 years I hit masters, so probably around then. It's time to.
Well, it's actually
hang up the boots.
year you turn 30.
Yeah, I just did the math as we were talking. Then it's 3 years. Yeah. So in 3 years, I'm 27 this year. So
shit, I'm masters 2 now, bro.
Bruh, get around it. It doesn't matter if you don't compete. So shots fired.
If I didn't have to put so much energy into coaching you,
yeah,
all right. Now we have a competition locally coming up here, and I put a message kind of in our group telling everyone, hey, let's go compete, blah blah blah, and people asking me if I'll compete because I was supposed to fight this weekend actually, and pulled out of that due to my surgeries. But I don't know if I will, man. Like, there'll be so many people to coach. Like, last competition we had, I think I'm hoping to have more people competing this time around. And even that last one, God, had like 3-4 people fighting at the same time.
Pick your favorites.
Yeah. Well, like whichever one had the least amount of crowd for me to have to run through to get there. Yeah, I remember one, I was coaching 3 people at once. There were 2 matches side by side, and then one on the other side, and I was trying to yell for all 3 of them.
What would you choose between like coaching white belt first match ever, like first time ever being in a competition, or like blue belt in the finals?
I don't know. It's hard not to say like, regardless whether it's a blue belt or not.
The finals.
Like the finals, right?
All right,
like
what about just the blue belt? Just whatever. Like a competitive blue belt or old mate white belt first time ever?
How much do I like old mate white belt?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think I try to put my support where it's needed most, so that white belt might be fine just to do their thing, right? Or that white belt might need a lot of emotional support, if you will. Like they might need.
You can do it.
Yeah.
He's got nothing.
I'll still love you. Like
kiss.
Oh God, you've just reminded me of. I'm not even going to tell that story because it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But you've just reminded me of something anyway.
Okay.
God, when you get like a whole story play out in your mind, and
you're like, better not.
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah, like I don't know. If we're basing it off this episode and that white belt is in the Masters division, I'm there for you. You're not too old. Bro.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think. I mean, look. Maybe on paper you could say like, yeah, that blue belt match means more than that dude's first white belt match. But also, that first match for that white belt, his or her first competition, you could argue that almost means more than any other competition because that's if they have a bad experience there, that could mean they write off competitions forever, right? So I guess it's value in terms of the prestige behind it might be negligible because it's their first ever competition. It doesn't matter. The result doesn't matter. But in terms of what that could mean for their career in jiu-jitsu or not even their career, but what that could mean for them as someone as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, like it could be everything, right? It could be the difference between them going on to become someone who wants to pursue jiu-jitsu for the rest of their life, someone who wants to become a competitor, or someone who writes it off and never does it again.
Yeah. I've
So
seen a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
those write-offs as well. Like, again, I get 99% of my anecdotes from Reddit, but there was another Reddit forum that was along the lines of, basically it was shitting on competition. I might have mentioned it before, but it was like competing sucks and this is why, you know, and everyone jumped in. But those sort of threads just attract people that have that opinion anyway. And if you have a different opinion, you're just going to get voted down. So there's no point. It's an echo chamber, if you will. And this thread was just full of people just recounting like their quote unquote horror stories of, you know, why would I drive 3 hours to lose my first round? Like, well, fuck, bro, get better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I know. Well, don't lose.
Yeah, don't fucking lose. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
But I mean, fuck, I've lost my first round before. It's not fun, but it happens. But yeah, anyway, like, yeah, that happens. People, you know, people have a shit experience in their first comp and don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Or like just whatever, have that opinion like you've shared before, where maybe they feel like, oh, you know, I want to wait till the end of my belt to compete. But it's like, well, no, man, compete at the start because that's way more. There's way less stress, way less pressure on you, right?
I think that's harder to do at white belt though, to say compete at the start. Like, because I get that question as well. Like, oh, when do you think I'd be ready to compete?
Yeah, how much experience would you say?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
depends on the person.
That's right. But I essentially say, you know, have you passed the point where you're no longer a spaz, you know, like, you know, that can take a while. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, are you past the point where you're going to do something reckless in terms of self-harm or harming your opponent? And have you passed the point to recognize if your opponent's doing something stupid?
And obviously, it's not to keep yourself safe, I suppose.
Yeah, like, you know, I don't know, like, but are you not gonna, you know, walk out there and try to do some front flip cartwheel and break your neck or something stupid, right? So for everyone, it's different, right?
Yeah. I think I competed my first 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I mean,
it was like a 2-stripe. I don't know. I can't remember.
Let's say if I had to give it a time period, let's say 3 months, right?
Yeah,
so
that's when I competed.
But yeah, I mean, anyway,
fucking smashed them.
Yeah, get wrecked, son. But yeah, that has nothing. Being too old, right? Yeah, there's no such thing. I used to know a guy. He was from the Alliance in Chicago, I think. Anyway, man, he's like I don't know, like 2 or 3 time, you know, air quotes world champion, because it's at like Masters 7.
Wow.
And this dude's like in his 60s or whatever, and he still fights Masters
and
stuff. Like, and of course he's fighting people of the same age. Like, what a legend.
Yeah.
You know, like he's someone who picked up jiu-jitsu post 50 years old and still went on to get his black belt, right? And has won Masters Worlds at black belt at that age. Like, you know, okay, are we seeing are we seeing the elite of jiu-jitsu? No, but I mean, like, it's elite within that bubble, not bubble, but like, you know, those limitations.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's
the now infamous case that Joe Rogan spoke about. We've spoken about before on the podcast, where that woman won Masters at brown belt and got promoted to black belt on the podium, and she started jiu-jitsu in her late 50s, and she got promoted at, you know, in her mid to late 60s. So another case, if you think you're too old, check her out. She's killing it.
I've got a student who's a black belt in his 60s, just recovered from prostate cancer, right? And he's still training.
Wow.
You know? And
we
roll every week.
Shit.
Yeah, you don't know him. He's we keep it on the down low.
Yeah, right.
No, he just does. He's not my black belt. Sorry.
Oh,
I didn't give him his black belt, but he's a black belt.
Yeah.
But trains with me. We just do privates,
Oh,
right?
cool.
And you know, and he rolls hard. A bunch of the guys in the gym have rolled with him, but we typically just do privates. You know, and this dude's in his 60s and has just recovered from a very serious surgery, right, and illness, and is rolling with me, who's almost half his age, right? Like there's 30 years between
Smashing
us.
him or what?
Bro, and he only taps me once or twice a roll, you know, like, so it's, no. And like, we have good hard rolls together. And so, yeah, you're not too old. Of course, you know, some people are going to have more physical limitations than others. You know, for some people, it will be out of the realm of possibility for you. You know, some people will have illnesses or injuries or limitations due to whatever, and they won't be able to do it. You know, the same way that I'm limited into becoming successful at chess because I'm a moron.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the law.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Checkers maybe, but chess, no.
That's the one where you do the little bunny hops, right?
Yes. That's it. But I will say, like, if you can rock up to most like random group fitness classes at your F45 or your local gym, then you can probably do jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, I really can't give any more, like if I was really to put it in a nutshell, the advice of those people who are wondering, saying, am I too old, right? Well, firstly, the answer is no, but there's really only two things to consider. One, like that's your own personal situation, as in, yeah, like if you're someone who's like, oh, I've had 7 knee reconstructions and I've had a whole vertebrae removed from my back and blah, blah, blah. Okay, man, that ain't got nothing to do with your age. Like you broken. Like, so obviously, if you have something that physically limits you, it might be regardless of your age. That's for everyone to consider. But typically older people have those thoughts, right? So obviously no one but you and a doctor or a physio can address that. But so if we push that to the side, you're good physically, as in you have nothing that's like, no, bro, you had a bypass 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Chill.
Yeah. As long as you're physically good, right? Then the only advice I can give is that you just have to find the correct gym. And I wish I could just say all gyms will treat you nicely, but they won't, right? Maybe in the future it'll be a bit more, I don't want to say standardized, but it'll be a bit more like where just gyms as a whole, even the really highly successful competitive gyms have a friendly environment, but not all. Some gyms are just going to put you to sink or swim, and those gyms can be rough even if you're a 20-year-old, right? Starting jiu-jitsu. Well, they are rough, right? The saying sink or swim is trial by fire, right? It's hard for anyone. And I came up through that sort of sink or swim, and it can produce a lot of greatness. But typically, if you're of an older age bracket and you want to pick up a new sport, jiu-jitsu and sink and swim is probably not the way you want to go.
You might sink, bro.
You're already in the sack of bricks, bro. you go down. But really, I think that's the only advice I can give, because you're not too old, man. Like, I've got a 60-year-old black belt post-cancer. He trains. I've seen this guy in his 60s get his black belt and go on and win the Masters Worlds division. Just
I think
align your
it's
expectations.
just an excuse, man. Like it's not. Look,
age
it's kind of
is
like
just a number, Kieren.
says the 20-year-old. But yeah, I think it's to summarize the way I see it. And again, this is take this with a grain of salt, because I'm in my late 20s ish. Anyone that wants to start something new and isn't quite sure, is on the fence because they know that it's going to take a lot of work or it's going to be difficult. They come up with like reasons, right, why they shouldn't. Some of those are like, I don't have time, I'm not fit enough, I'm not young enough, I'm too old, whatever. I think this just falls into that bucket. If you look at yourself, unless you're, in your 90s and you're looking at a couple more years, like maybe you're too old then. But if you're not and you're fit, you're able, and you're good to go. And
you don't even have to be fit.
Well, yeah, if you fit as in like you're not about to die.
Yeah,
like,
fit as in the doctor hasn't said you're about to have a stroke.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're physically able to do it, as you said, then you're not too old. I think it's just a limitation that your mind is putting on you, because you're not looking for reasons, but you kind of are. You're kind of looking for reasons not to do it.
Yeah,
maybe that's it.
But I think really, like, at least in my experience, with people who have come to me saying, am I too old? It's usually because they're worried about getting hurt. They're worried about thinking they're just going to be thrown in and have to fight against a 20-year-old
But eventually you will. Like if you are starting jiu-jitsu later.
Yes, I know. But
eventually you will have to fight me, and I will make you pay. Dave, I'm talking to you.
Dave, you old fart. No, but yeah, the correct gym won't treat you like that. And yeah, it's always just an excuse. It's never too late. I'm mid-30s this year. I swear I'm going to learn how to read. It's never too late.
Eventually.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn my ABDs. ABDs, right?
Yes.
And my 1-2-5s. I'm going to get it.
That's it.
You know, so
Good job.
So it's never too late, right? I know it's cliche to say it's never too late. But
Plenty of fish in the sea. Hang on a minute.
You know, and yeah, you know, you don't have to go on to become the next Cyborg or Cobrinha or, you know, just recently Kelly Slater, right? Winning Pipeline. I think it was like 1 week or a couple of weeks before his 50th birthday.
Insane.
You know, crazy, right? So I'm not saying you have to be that person. Chances are you won't become that person, but man, get in there. The correct gym will look after you. And because there's still so much to be gained from jiu-jitsu without you having to become a world champion, right? And you can still train really hard within your parameters, right? This 60-year-old I know who's a Masters world champion at black belt, he doesn't expect to be beating the 20-year-olds, right? But you know, like, it's unrealistic. That's why we have divisions, so you can stay competitive within your parameters, right? And if you're at a good gym, you'll still be able to train with that 20-year-old and they will treat you properly and appropriately and still give you good training and will still be a good training partner and teammate and maybe become a friend. Like there's all the other aspects that go with jiu-jitsu. So stop making excuses and take your meds and off you go. Just tape it, bro. Just tape it.
Tape your sneeze. On that note, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast.
Imagine the amount of people that are like, I'm fucking old after listening to this shit episode.
Well, joke's on you for sticking around, you idiots. No, we love each and every one of you. If you want to support the show, check out our Instagram.
What's our Instagram, Kieren?
At Beyond Jiu Jitsu _podcast. On a side note, we actually own at Beyond Jiu Jitsu on Instagram, but I fucked up the account, so it's like a frozen account. So we own that name.
Yeah, at
Just
Beyond Jiu Jitsu.
Anyone wondering why we have _podcast is we own the name. I just fucked up the account creation process and I froze it. So there you go.
Kieren.
Check us out on Instagram
You're
and support
too old
us
for technology. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
And if you'd like to support us that extra little bit, support us on Patreon. We have a link to that in our bio. And last one, we need audio questions for the next Q&A episode.
Yes.
We need people submitting questions. We love you for submitting questions, but we want to go to audio format.
I believe, are we going to answer a couple of them on the next episode?
Yes.
We're supposed to do it on this one.
Yes.
But I forgot.
We will be answering some audio questions as like a little, teaser trailer of what's to come. But if you if you want to be on Q&A number 6, which will be airing on episode 70.
Send the audio question.
Send in your audio
It's in the link
questions.
tree. If you don't know what a link tree is, it's in the Instagram bio.
Yeah. First link, leave us an audio-based question and you will hear your voice, your beautiful voice on the show. Until next time, see ya.